Today's deck profile features the combo that many players are dreading for the upcoming format. With the release of EX7 and the fact that Shoto Kazuma received no restriction whatsoever, Shoto Reaper can now slow the game down. Briefly, this week's topic will cover a wide variety from the usual deck profiles today to EX7 metrics along with more essay-styled videos. If you enjoy the content that I bring on a weekly basis, do consider liking the videos, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell for more future content. You know the drill. Let's discuss some of the key combo cards before we work backwards into the remainder of the deck. Mother D Reaper is one of two pieces for this deck that makes it what it is. While true, Mother cannot attack players, it does boast itself as one of the semi-highest DP cards in the game and is immune to all effects of your opponents, whether they be Digimon, Tamer, or option card effect. While you do nothing with the Reaper cards itself, there's one particular card in the game that was recently released that makes this card an absolute pain to deal with. And that is EX7 Shoto Kazuma. Shoto Kazuma is the newest Tamer that has already seen considerable play in not just seraphimon, but Mother blocker builds. Shoto Kazuma at the start of your main phase gains 1 memory if your opponent has a Digimon in play, but its end of turn effect allows you to suspend itself to give one of your Digimon blocker and piercing. The problem is, who wants to deal with a 15,000 DP Digimon with blocker that's immune to all of your opponent's card effects? And the follow-up question, how does it get worse? While true, this deck does little with Digivolving, draw power becomes one of the primary concerns. The next segment of this video looks at draw power to assist with the deck as you are primarily playing Tamers and just forcing your opponent to attack. As they run out of gas, this leaves little to no room for them to maneuver. The first card of course goes to starter deck Tai Kamiya. This Tai Kamiya offers you an additional plus 2000 DP and a card draw when an attack is redirected. Combining this with Mother and Shoto means that you can have a 17,000 DP body that when blocking, draws you a card. The second card that you play with this deck is Digimon Liberator. Though it is a white card or requires a Digimon or Tamer with the Liberator trait, the fact that Mother is white already gives you that requirement instead of having to play a Tamer like Digimon Emperor. On that note, this deck can run Digimon Emperor to draw more cards as your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon is deleted. This does accelerate your draw power in order to get to a win condition faster. But the last card that does some digging for this deck is starter deck Shumon. Shumon has the ability to add 1 card with the Liberator in its traits and 1 card with the Puppet trait off the top 3. Because of its expansive search capability, this means that you can target other Shumons, Etemons, Shoto Kazuma, and the Digimon Liberator promo. On the flip side, Digimon Liberator as an option card can add this card to your hand, then play Shumon for free to cycle another 3 cards. Again, your underlying goal is to find Shoto Kazuma as quickly as possible to start building your wall, or at times, multiple walls. And while the deck itself is a basic skeleton, where does the deck go from here? Prior versions of this deck to EX7 mainly depended on black cards to give blocker, such as Valkyrimon. You also utilized elements of Satsuki Tamahime in order to detach off of the hybrids to gain more memory and utilize it with Numemon. But with EX7, all of that goes out the window because of Shoto Kazuma himself. With the deck profile, this takes on a new outlook completely, utilizing more yellow cards and in particular, base Digimon. Because even if your opponent removes them, you've got a big wall that can intercept them the following turn. Option cards assist with the defense now as well if they want to go into security. And while you could run 4 Shumons, I'm presently only on 3 because testing has shown that the level 3 isn't really as needed. You will ultimately find your Shotos sooner or later, whether they're in security or in your deck. But other than this level 3, I've opted not to run any floodgates because a lot of my counterplay is at the top end or in the form of removal. Likewise, this deck runs no level 4s, opting to hard play the level 5s for maximum control potential. Which takes us to the first real card outside of the preliminary discussion, Magna Angemon Ace. Magna Angemon Ace on play and when Digivolving recovers 1 to your security as long as you do not have 6 or more security cards. Then you DP reduce one of your opponent's Digimon by the number of your security cards multiplied by 1000. Simple, despite the overflow cost of 3. With Etemon, as mentioned, this card is a viable pickup from Shumon, and not only DP reduces your opponent's Digimon by 3000 DP on play or when Digivolving, but also taunts the Digimon to attack if it survived. By doing so, you have a variety of level 6 Digimon that can counter your opponent's movements. And even better, with Shoto you could give etemon blocker. The question though would be why if you have Mother D Reaper in play. Ace Digimon wise, you run a lot for the overall package. With the etemon of course, you're going to run valkyrimon Ace because this deals with wider boards, DP reducing the entire board for the turn when it's digivolved into by 5000 DP. It also assists in the more aggressive checks because if your opponent's board does not have a Digimon with 8000 DP or less to delete, it gets an extra security check. But the newer ones for this lineup include Seraphimon Ace from EX6, for the fact that you can recover over 6 security. Because Shoto could potentially put you up to 4 or more with multiple copies, playing Magnum Angemon Ace into Seraphimon Ace is a lot of recovery potential that could put options or other tamers into the security to be revealed for later. Keep in mind, the all turns effect of this Digimon also bounces a Digimon with as high or lower level as your security, and bouncing 6s or 7s is very effective if you're trying to stop on deletion effects. The only other Ace Digimon I run in this build is Mega Gargomon Ace, mainly because it works well as its own blocker and pseudo-aggressor like Valkyrimon Ace. The only downside, its only blast target is etemon. And while you may have thought, that's a lot of Ace Digimon, Digi-Panda, there's more where that came from. Level 7s, you run 6 aces out of the 8 potential cards. The remaining 2 are just Death-Exmon for the usual board control. Could you run Shine Greymon Ruin mode? You definitely can, considering almost all of your level 6s are yellow. The only downside is, if Ruin mode attacks, it deletes itself regardless at the end of attack and overflows with a level 6. But with the next level 7, with a majority of my level 6s being yellow aces, Shine Greymon Burst Mode Ace was the first one. And while you may question it, this Digimon on play when digivolving allows you to play one tamer from your hand without paying cost. It could be literally any color, which means it could be Shoto or even Taikamiya. Then for each tamer you have, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 5000 DP, meaning effectively it deletes a Digimon because you're going to have at least 2 or 3. The when attacking effect requires you to spend up to 2 yellow tamers, but most of the time you'll rarely have this effect go off. With the element of red in your level 6s, Crimson Mode Ace was another pick but only as a one-of for consistency. The Shine Greymon Ace has honestly been working well in playtesting, but with blue and green aces, of course I'm going to dump Paladin Mode Ace into the mix as well because of purple and black counters. Ultimately, the style of the level 7s depend on you as a player, and you can opt to move more towards aggro or control if you want. Option card wise, you run your pretty healthy standard option cards for each color. When it comes to red, you're going with Crimson Blaze to wipe your opponent's board and prevent them from playing Digimon via card effects. With yellow, it's Heaven's Judgment and Reinforcing Memory Boost for the extra memory and looking at 2 cards to place one on top and adding the other to your hand. Taunting options like Trident Armor against Digimon, and of course Digimon Liberator for the search. Because a majority of your cards are yellow, I do recommend you stay closer to the yellow options than anything else. Black being the secondary. Though if you are really feeling memes, you could run X Program, though this will delete your own Mother D Reapers as they are not immune to your own effects. And finally with Tamers, it's the mandatory 4 Shoto Kazumas and 3 starter deck Taikamiyas. But outside of these mandatory Tamers, Taikamiya and Karikamiya provides a source of red and yellow for your options, on top of weakening your opponent's security just enough for your top end to typically chip in without any issues. And while you could run 2 Digimon Emperors, I went with maximum trolling with the Taikamiyas from the 5th starter deck that gives me an unsuspend when a Digimon is suspended for blocking. Is this needed? By no means no. I'm just mean when it comes to card games. Ultimately, Shoto Reaper is going to be seen a lot in the up-and-coming meta, but it does have its own problems as a deck as well. Because the deck is predominantly defensive, cards that can circumvent the blocker can be used. Mach Galgamon, for example, can prevent its attack from being redirected, or even option cards like High Speed Plugin which prevent blocking. In addition, due to speed, this deck can be prone to draws and ties, but that's what accelerating your win condition is for with the top end. And while blocking has a niche set of cards that can deal with it, the real target of course is going to go to Shoto Kazuma himself as a tamer because he gifts blocker to your Digimon. Cards like Hexablaumon for example can return tamers to the bottom of the deck with a specific caveat. But Tamer Destruction and other effects that can stun cards from suspending are also going to be huge. But interestingly, Iceclad is another workaround for Mother because it's changing the battle conditions, and thus Mother D Reaper would not be immune to it as its basic battle. Does this mean Hexablaumon and Ice Snow decks will be more prevalent moving forward? Shoto Reaper is by no means the perfect deck, but it will be a gatekeeper in many ways like Magnamon X was in the BT16 format. What are your thoughts on the newer version of Shoto Reaper, and do you think these two should have been choice restricted? Let me know your thoughts on the build, as I begin exploring more of EX7, Digimon Liberator. This is Digi-Panda, logging out.